Hello, beautiful people out here in Feminine Spaces land. I am just a smidge jet lagged as I arrived this morning at 4:50. Yes, 4:50 from South Korea to Copenhagen. I was there on a quick trip for 72 hours, and it was an incredible experience. I don't know about you guys, but every time I travel somewhere, there I am. I have the perspective that every time I go outside of my normal, because when you do your everyday things, your routines, they become routines. Like if there's a shortcoming to you, you don't see it because you do the same thing all the time. So you're very comfortable in that state. But when you're outside of your comfort zone, all of a sudden, there you are, faced with yourself, with your anxieties, with your prejudices, with your tolerances or lack thereof. And you are faced full Monty, one can say, because you got no place to hide. There's no comfort. You're there in another country speaking another thing, eating foreign food. And if that doesn't bring out every single trigger and anxiety that you thought you had under control, girl, let me tell you something. It is there in full force. Even if you have your toolbox of hidden gems that help you cope or help you to address whatever the situation is that you're experiencing, your little toolbox to be able to break this down and process it, you use them. Because let me tell you, as exotic as South Korea is, and I loved everything about it, it also amplified quite a few of my triggers. I'll share. I am a planner. I'm a planner by nature because I'm a nervous Nelly. I think I said this in one of the other videos here somewhere, right? As much as I love to travel, I always have an experience of exposure. Because as much as I put that mask on, that first mask that we share with everybody out there, this most gracious and most best version of yourself that you present out to the world, girl, when you're out in these foreign streets, that mask is dropped because you are so overwhelmed with everything that you're seeing and feeling and walking and being that you can't keep that mask up. You just can't do it. It is there and you can't hide. And this is what I experienced when we went, knowing that I was there for not even 72 hours. Seriously, we left Sunday at midnight. We arrived Monday at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was 11 hours of traveling plus a 6 hour time difference. And we immediately got to the hotel, changed, and went out to eat. It was amazing. I am a planner. I'm a fixer by nature, right? Firstborn and, Spanish household. Girls are this, boys are that. There's so many things that influence the person that you become. And when you address those challenges and recognize those old narratives and you kind of work on them and work on yourself so you're no longer the version of yourself that someone said you ought to be, if this makes any sense, and then you start becoming authentically and truer to yourself, eating some food that you ain't never eaten before, it brings something out. I love the adventure of it, but I am always like a little anxious. Like I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I made it a point to learn to say thank you. I made it a point to make sure that we had cash on us because who has cash nowadays? I mean, right? Don't you just blip everything? I blip everything. We had cash. So when we were in those small little areas, if they didn't accept a card, we had cash so we could pay for services, which was smart. And I had a whole list of 15 places to go visit, 30 restaurants, places to go visit, places that were less touristy, because I am the type of person, when I arrive somewhere, I am so overwhelmed, especially if it's something that I'm not familiar with, that it's my way of being able to feel that I'm in control of myself because I have a plan. So if something, if it starts raining in the middle of the day, we can always go to a museum. We don't have to look for something to do because there's a list. And I'm like that in my everyday life. Yes, I know it's crazy, but it's true. It's a way of providing safety for myself. And I know that's what it is. Secondly, you're walking in these streets, and you know what? Everybody's just like you and I. Everyone. Everybody, they're single, they're married, they have children, they have families, they're working, they're making money, they have a household, they have payments, they have cars, there's gas, there's duties and responsibilities like every other place. So we're no different. They might have a different costume to what is worn on the daily, and more, the westernized culture is kind of going everywhere. But I like that they stay true and authentic to their own culture, as we all do. I love that. But it definitely reminded me about the importance of compassion and tolerance, not only for yourself, but with every person you meet. And it was so apparent there because it's so outside of my comfort zone, even though I love the luxury and the privilege of traveling and enjoying and living my best life, there's still a cost. There's still a cost to everything that you do. And in that cost, that exposure, that ability to see yourself for who you truly are is where you grow. Because in these moments where we're traveling around and my husband is like, let's go. And I'm like, ooh, are we going to go? Because, that wasn't part of the plan and I don't know how this works. And then it takes me 4 or 5 minutes to calm myself and to breathe and say, I'm safe. There's money in my pocket. I've got cards. I have a phone. I have ID. I have a passport. What can go wrong? Nothing. I have an exit. The safety that that brings within me and within you is so incredibly comforting. So then it makes me go, oh, okay, I'll go. I'll go experience that. The third thing, there's something so freeing in this one specific place that we went to go visit because South Korea is different from Puerto Rico or France or a European country because it's an Asian country. So it's different cultural narratives, it's different cultural norms, although same, but different. Europe, I'm familiar with. US, familiar with. Spanish countries, familiar with. Because plus or minus, same. When you're challenged with going something outside of your norm, that's where exposure comes in. And that exposure really helps you grow. So I leaned into these moments where I was triggered of not feeling safe. And as I get older, I'm starting to expose these moments from, childhood or from dating in the past or from work experience or from friends, these things that we suppress deep down. And then when you're feeling safe, they just pop up. And there they are for you to process, for you to figure out. What is this? Why is it here? Where is it coming from? And I had quite a few of those moments during this trip. And it was amazing because I was out of my comfort zone. And I could do one of two things: swallow it, ignore it, suppress it, put it down and pretend it's not there, or just go, this is here. Yeah. This is something I'm processing while I'm walking. Because walking is like meditation and you're looking at stuff that's foreign to you. So you're like in another place in your brain and looking. So when these things pop up, you look at them, you process them, you feel, why are they coming up now in this place where I'm safe within myself, safe within my environment, a little different from my norm. So I'm not numb to my environment. And I was processing things from my childhood. I processed this really interesting moment I'm going to share that I remember that I was dating this person for a minute. And I didn't really like him, but I kind of liked him as a person, but not him because he was not a nice person. You know what I'm saying? And I remember sitting I was away at the Delano in Miami with some friends, and I did something really stupid, as one does when they're in their 20s. I mean, it was so stupid. And I was filled with such shame for that moment in my life. And I have carried it for so long. And I remember my husband, we were at this little cafe, cute little cafe. Oh my gosh. And my husband got up and went to the bathroom. And I was sitting there all alone, and this moment popped up. And I was like in another place. Like in my mind, I was some other place. And it was me sitting at the shoreline of the beach with the Delano behind me in Miami. And I was like, there's that version of me back there then in her 20s, shamed, sad, feeling a certain kind of way. And I just walked over to her and I said, baby girl, you didn't know then. You didn't have the information that you have now. And it's okay that you had this experience. The point is, it was a learning. It was a learning experience. And I just held Vanessa of in her 27, 28-year old, 29-year old, I think she was 29. And I just told her that I loved her so much. And it was a sucky situation. And what I knew about myself then and how to process information and how to, express my wants and needs and desires, that was part of the effect because I didn't know how to do that then. So that was a pivotal moment in my time that helped me understand that I am the curator and the cultivator of my relationships. And at that point, I didn't know what I know now. And the shame that I had from not knowing how to handle myself in a relationship came up because now I'm here in South Korea, loving the relationship I'm in. Most importantly, loving Vanessa, loving her unapologetically, and letting know there's no harm and no foul. It was an experience. I learned from it, and we moved on 20 something years to forgive myself for what I didn't know then and allowed her to absorb her back into me. I always have the philosophy when I used to coach with my clients that these experiences that we choose not to process, I always call them like red ribbons, and they're attached to our back. So you have these beautiful red ribbons that are just, in the air, just beautifully like this, and 3 or 4 are fantastic. When you have 50 or 100, 200, 300, as beautiful as those little red ribbons are, flowing back there, they get heavy and it's exhausting. So that was one ribbon that I was able to pull off and recognize that the decisions that I made at that point in my life were based on the information that I had. At this moment in my life, I would not make the same decisions. However, the vast amount of knowledge that I have gained in those 25 years is rather impressive. And that is the beauty about putting yourself in experiences in which you don't feel comfortable because it rattles you just a little bit, enough to let you put down that facade that we have built up to show the world this version of us. And girl, those masks get heavy, just like those red ribbons. So what I'm saying all of this to tell you, the 72 hours that I had in South Korea, in Seoul, were or are a pivotal moment of claiming myself as a woman and stating that all the experiences I have are a culmination that make me the woman that I am. And that's okay. And what I loved about that moment, and that was a moment that I experienced and I was very ashamed of, and I have been carrying that shame for so long. It directed how I showed up in my relationships, my romantic relationships. It made me not fully be present and authentically myself. And I've been married for 14 years. And if you can't be fully and authentically yourself with your husband or wife, who the hell are you going to be fully authentically and your honest, true self with? And the weight of feeling safe enough within myself to show up in such a way for myself, forgive myself for the sins that I committed, because they're not sins, they're just experiences that I made half-heartedly without any kind of knowledge or thought about the consequences. I know I'm rattling and I hope this makes sense, but it was such a big moment. Because I know I'm not delirious and I know I'm super tired, but I can tell you, when those moments show up, lean into them. Because at the end of the day, you are who you are. And your life is a culmination of every single experience you've had. Those experiences do not dictate who you are as a person. It's just an experience. So by going through it, opening myself up, allowing that moment to come in and feel it in its full expression, and then look at it for what it was, which is me coming to myself and saying, there's this thing, oof, that I don't feel safe, and this is the experience, and this is the weight that I've carried because of that experience. And to let her, she say, baby girl, that's okay. I love you. Full stop. The moments and experiences, we will unpack them, we will look at them, we will gain the wisdom, throw away the rest of it, because that's all you can do. Because when you hold on to that, girl, it is heavy. It is heavy. And you and I as women, it's time, process, unpack those moments, and allow you to fully shine in the beautifulness of your womanhood. I trust this little tidbit shared. I feel like I've been like a little all over the place, but the message got through, right? Write in the comments and let me know. Pussy Puss.